And his presentation is on basic radio operating and net procedures.
Thanks, Mike. As Mike said, I'm Barrett. I call sign W0ASB. I'll be talking about basic radio operating and net procedures. So I pulled up a map and I kind of charted some of the local area repeaters that we have around town here. A lot of these are programmed in the list that Chip is making outside there. These are mostly 2 meter, 77 meter repeaters. A couple of them not shown. This is not really anything you guys have to know, just if this is something that you guys are interested in, what are the repeaters and where are they around me. I put it in a handy little map here. Chip should have these slides on the website after this weekend. So you're new to ham radio, you are looking to make a contact on a repeater. You're tuned into some frequency, you want to find someone to start a conversation with. One way of doing that is going on your radio and saying your call sign. So I would say W0ASB or W0ASB monitoring, and that tells other stations that are listening on that frequency that I am trying to make a contact with them. Sometimes this doesn't work and you'll have to put your call sign out there again after a few minutes. So don't be discouraged if they don't respond immediately. If I know a specific operator I'm trying to contact, I will say my call sign and their call sign, their call sign and then my call sign. So if I was trying to talk to Bob, I would say K0NR W0ASB, indicating that I'm trying to make contact with Bob. Generally, when we're on a repeater, we won't say make a CQ call. So that's more of a simplex thing that we use to contact other operators. Yes. I put a note in here, if you're still having trouble contacting someone, you can throw a CQ out over the repeater and you're sure to be corrected on that. Yes, go ahead.
Sometimes I lot out just a radio check. Can I get a radio check and someone will at least?
Yep, that works too. Yeah. Sometimes you'll ask for a signal report or see how you're coming across the repeater, and that's another great way to get the conversation started. So that's for making a contact on a repeater. Now, say you're trying to make a contact with someone off a repeater on VHF, UHF, and HF. Generally, you'll say CQ, indicating you're trying to speak with any other operator that's listening. So one way that hams will monitor their radio is scanning through the memory banks, or even just having a waterfall view of the activity that's coming across the bands. And your radio will stop scanning your memory bank when it hears someone coming across the air. So in that instance, it's better to make your CQ call longer. And so if I were to want to have my CQ call longer, I will say CQ, this is Barrett W0ASB calling CQ on 2 meters. So that's one way that you can increase the likelihood of hearing or getting a call back from someone. And again, if you are trying to make contact with a specific operator, you'll say their call sign, the other person's call sign, your call sign. So we'll say W0STU, W0ASB.
Hey, Barrett. Can I insert one thing? I think the situation has kind of shifted over the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of the repeaters are just plain quiet. And so there aren't like hordes of people listening out there, or like the other day, I had somebody show up on my repeater, and I was sitting in one, and there's an HT on in the house, and I was in one room, Joyce is in another room, and I said, "Who was that?" Because I could tell somebody just got on that I'd never heard before, but I couldn't tell who they were. And she's like, I don't know, she had her earbuds in listening to her iPhone or something, right? So she's like, I don't know who that was. And so I kind of stopped for a second, and I walked over to buy the HT, and the guy gave another call, fortunately. And so I caught his call sign at that point, and called him back. It was a KG5 call sign, so pretty good guess he might be from out of town. Sure enough, he was visiting from, I forget, Mississippi or Alabama, or one of them, their states down south. And anyway, had a nice little chat with him. But the kind of the moral of the story was, if he would have just gone KG5 LMB listening, I would have never heard him, right? It would have just kind of missed it completely. So I think, getting a little bit verbose and making a couple of calls, and like if you're, if you really do want a radio check, go ahead and ask, hey, somebody tell me if I'm hitting the repeater. Make a request, you're much more likely to get somebody to come back to you. And if you overdo it, then you'll probably start annoying people, and they'll tell you. But so apply a little bit of judgment there. But
They'll tell you.
I think that things have shifted a bit where, you probably have to, you kind of have to make some noise to get any attention on repeaters. Because the other factor is, people have their mobiles with like 50 channels that they're scanning, and they're scanning through all that, and if you make a quick call, they'll just miss you completely. So just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Bob. So I'm the net manager at.
Dave's got a comment back here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Also, if you go out and put out your call, since people do have their 50 channel scanning through their mobile, it's also good to say listening .345 or listening 5.2. That way, as somebody is maybe driving along, because I know when I drive along, my radio is scanning, but I might be listening to another, to something else. I might be listening to an FM radio station, of all things. And I hear this pop up, and it catches my attention, but I don't have enough time between driving, listening to my favorite rock star, and then saying, okay, what band or what frequency just hit on my radio? So if you give out the frequency that you're monitoring, that will go, oh, okay, click, 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 click. Yeah, I hear you, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Your previous statement is using the term CQ on a simplex more PC than on the repeater world?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that's true.
Okay.
Any other comments, Bob?
Yeah. If I'm doing a soda activation on 2 meters, I'm going to be CQ, this is K0NR on the top of blah, blah, blah peak. Summit's on the air, call me now.
And you're usually on what frequency?
146.52 or some other simplex frequency.
So a net is an on-the-air gathering of amateur radio operators at W0TLM. We do that every Monday evening, except nights that we have our weekly meeting. A directed net will have a net control station, which is handling the communication through the repeater. The repeaters are used for 2 meter and 70 centimeter operation to increase the coverage of the area that the net will broadcast to. For example, if you just have your 2 meter with handheld walkie, you won't be able to reach as many people with the signal, the power that's coming just out of your handheld radio. Directed nets are the most efficient way of handling traffic over the air. So the typical structure for a net will be the intro to the net, and the net control station will say the purpose, frequency, meeting time of the net. And then they'll go through and they'll do a roll call. They'll ask for for all operators listening in the area to come back give them your call sign so they can log you into the net, make sure you're checked in. And they will usually call you group by suffix, which is the letter following the number in your call sign. That's just to make sure that everyone's not calling at the same time, and the net control station has a little bit of time to write in your call sign. Then the net control station will handle any traffic. Usually during the beginning of the net, they'll ask for emergency traffic. So if any priority traffic is, if anyone has priority traffic, they'll call that, make that announcement at that time, and then at the end of that, they will handle any club business, that sort of thing. At W0TLM, we do a question of the week. Other clubs will do other technical topics or just roundtable discussion. And I've got a couple of examples of that coming up here in a few slides. Then at the end of the net, the net control station will say that they're closing the net and returning the repeater to normal use. So I've got a couple of, I put together a list of a couple other nets that are here in town. These are all links on the internet. When you go home tonight and you want to check out some of these other ones, we'll have these slides on the W0TLM website, and you can check out a couple of these options, links for any other nets you guys are interested in. So I've listed this by repeater. The first two are the two different repeaters that they're on, and then this last group, you're just going to have to go through and find some, any interest you guys have, find a net on it. I've pulled out a couple here from this Denver Nets link here. And there's an Edge of Space Sciences net. There was a presentation on that at one of the other radio clubs in town, and that's for high altitude balloon. I haven't been on any of these nets, but this is a, if there's something out there you guys are looking for, there might be a net for it. There's a pet net, so this is for pet lovers. There's a dog, cat, snake, goat. You want to talk about your pets, you guys can go on this Thursday evenings at 7:30 and see what that's all about. Next we've got an Outdoor America USA net, so for camping, off-road, outdoor preparedness. If that interests you, that might be a net that you'd like to check out. So as Stu said, we're going to have a simulated net just to kind of get the feel for how a net would be if you were calling into a net. So the net control station will have a net script. I'm going to read off here from the Tri-Lakes Monument net script. So I will be acting as net control, and we'll look for you guys for check-ins. So I'll say, calling the Tri-Lakes net, calling the Tri-Lakes net. This is Barrett, W0ASB, net control station for today's net. And I will talk about how frequently we meet this net. And then I will say, is there any priority traffic? Any emergency traffic, please call now. Not hearing any, I will now take check-ins. Once again, this is Barrett, W0ASB, net control station for today's net. I'll take check-ins grouped by suffix, call signs beginning suffix alpha through kilo. Please check in now.
This is your chance. Say your call sign if you're Alpha 2 Kilo.
Yeah, if you're something something 0, and then the next letter is alpha through what?
Kilo.
Kilo, A through K. That's your suffix. Those last 3 digits or characters, I should say. So just throw your call sign out there now. Go for it.
K0BJB.
KI6ASW.
I should probably.
And Barrett.
Well, you can put on the board back behind.
And phonetics.
Yeah, you can whiteboard it.
Yeah, let's do that. Alright.
Yeah, oh yeah, put it on the board.
And this is what will happen if you volunteer to be a neck control.
Good illustration.
You can do like Joyce does. Joyce says, please go slow. So
KD0 RQU. Kilo Delta Zero Romeo Queen Uniform. Barry.
Phonetics.
Whiskey Alpha
Barry's
Six,
got his
Foxtrot
phonetics going.
India.
Yeah, so usually I should say, please slowly give me your call sign.
It was KD0 RQU.
So the
Kilo
technologist-
Delta Romeo Queen Uniform. Barry. No
Technologist
traffic.
Zero RQU. Barry. No
Correct.
traffic.
Correct.
WB0 GMR Jim, no traffic.
KI6 ASW Vince, no traffic.
Kilo Echo Zero, Golf Uniform Victor, no traffic.
Whiskey Alpha
We'll
Six,
stop right
India,
there.
Foxtrot India, Dave, traffic coming next.
WB0 GMR, KI6 ASW, KE0 GUV. Are there any other stations Alpha through Kilo? Please check in now.
Okay, let's talk about what just happened there. Because this will happen, exactly what just happened. So Barrett needed to stop and recap, or maybe there's a little gap and you were waiting for a good place to jump in. And he started transmitting to everyone again, saying, hey, okay, I'm recognizing these stations, and is there anybody else out there? And during that time, you also pushed to talk and started calling out your call sign, right? So you were doubling with net control. Probably what's going to happen is the repeater's going to receive those and it's going to get somewhat garbled up. Maybe Barrett will win if he's got the stronger signal and everybody will hear Barrett, but those doubles are going to happen. And when they do, you just have to live with it and do over. If net control perceives the double, he's going to do what? What are you going to do? Say if you got two stations calling simultaneously and it's totally garbled.
Yeah, I will say there's a double. Please try that again, and you guys will try to do it a little bit better this time.
Yeah, and maybe if he perceives one of the stations, if he hears like maybe the last character of the station, X-ray, X-ray, then he's probably going to say, okay, we had a double there, let's get the station ending in X-ray, please come again, and then he'll get that call back, and then, okay, now the other station that was doubling with X-ray, with that station, please call now, and he'll disentangle those.
Just, at least one thought is, you're gonna go down through this in kind of an orderly fashion, but when you get to the bottom, you're gonna say any other check-ins, and any call signs are able to check in at that point that haven't checked in or doubled earlier or whatever.
Yeah, so if you miss your spot as designated by the suffix that's being called for, you'll have another chance. There's a question over here.
One of the things that I find that is helpful in this situation is if you have a good mobile base station, put it on the repeater, and if you're able to hit the repeater with your handheld, sort of listen to what's going on your base station, and then work it with your handheld. That way you can see if you're doubling over somebody or if you're getting into the repeater well. So I find that to be useful in that situation if you have the capability of a base station and a
Yeah, you got to be a little bit careful about feedback.
Yep.
You don't want to have audio coming back to you that you're transmitting,
Right.
because you'll get
Well, the other night
some interference
on
there.
the net when I checked in, I was a little too close to the base station. You just back away a little
Right.
bit. But it helps the doubling a little bit. If you hear somebody, then you're not going to go over top of them.
Yeah, if you have that luxury of another station, you can monitor yourself a little bit and deconflict yourself. Yeah, good point. Bruce?
I think my experience in that's too, that if you get garbled, always repeating, please come back once more slowly and phonetically. And in your voice, if you're speaking slowly, you can slow down people and get clarity, and phonetics always leads to clarity.
Good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
right there, I heard we were getting like a rush of call signs through. Do you normally do something like, I'll take the next 3 in group alpha through kilo, and that way net control can, they know once it gets 3, you can verify it and take the next 3 kind of.
Yeah, if you've got a really busy net, like, this is a busy room, right? Barrett, there's a lot of folks in here. This would be a very busy net. So typically our net on W0TLM is about how big, Barrett? What do you think?
10 or 15.
Okay, so a little less crowded than what we have here. And, but that would certainly be a good technique that could be used by net control station.
I've heard
to-
CERN use that.
Yeah.
Where they do, I'm taking the next 3.
Yeah, and that way it avoids doubles for anybody who's paying attention and can count and has all, you know, fingers up. Doubling with net control would avoid that.
In the back here. Sorry.
So on nets that actually handle traffic, when they do a check-in, sometimes they'll say, if you're checking in just for the count, is there any practical benefit of increasing the count to them?
I'm not sure I'm tracking with
Yeah,
that.
that's not something we do at this this station.
So who's doing that again?
So some nets, you'll hear people go, I'm just checking in for the count. In other words, I just checked in, but I also just checked out. And so it's kind of like a check the box on the number of people checking in. I actually think it's kind of pointless, because if you're not going to participate in the net, you're not. But why bother? But there are nets that's pretty common. They'll just yeah.
There's no real benefit though, they just.
There's some nets that they'll tell you don't do that. It's kind of like, if you're not really checking in, stop bothering us. So, yeah, right.
But there are some nets that do that because they're required to know the number of people that are listening in case they needed emergency action. I know a lot of nets down Oklahoma, Texas, they allow check-in for the count because they report, I had 20, and that goes to higher levels of emergency service.
Okay.
That, yeah, we had 20 people here. If we needed, we had 20 people.
Okay.
And maybe only 10 talked, answered the question, but there was 20 of them sitting there listening to the net.
Okay, we got a net in progress. Why don't we go a little bit further through this, and we can loop back to
Come back to the
questions.
question. Last one here.
So the best practice is, when you call out, this is Katie, this is Mark, KD0BJB, Kilo Delta 0, Bravo Juliet Victor, KD0BJ, I mean, what is the best practice? Say it, say your call phonetically, your name, I mean, what?
Yeah, I think that's probably preference to the net control or to the operator. For me, I like to at least hear it twice in case I miss it writing it down the first time, and then I can hear the.
So non-phonetically, then phonetically?
Usually the reverse of that is I've heard more typically.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then, the second time when you say it phonetically, it's a little bit more time to write it down.
And then do you want the first name or no first name?
I think, yeah, we usually do first name on our net.
Well, look at your script.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give your call sign, name, indicate if you have traffic.
Yep, okay.
That's our standard check-in.
Okay, so phonetically, then non-phonetically, okay.
And, yeah, so, and then as you, just to close on the double thing here, so I will read back who I have checked in case you're not sure if you have doubled or not, then you will listen for me to confirm that I haven't checked in on that. Let's move a little bit further down the list here. Let's ask for, this is Barrett W0 ASB, your net control station. Call signs begin with the suffix L, Lima through P, Papa. Please check it now.
Kilo 0, November, Romeo, Bob, no traffic.
KE0 MLD, Jim, no traffic.
Let's stop right there. Ned acknowledges Kilo 0, November, Robert, Bob, no traffic. And Kilo Echo 0, question mark, Delta. Please come back.
KE0 MLD, Mike, Lima, Delta.
Net control station will continue taking check-ins. Lima, L Lima through P, Papa, please check in now.
Kilo 5, Lima, Zulu, Mike, no traffic.
KM4PEH, John, Kilo Mike 4, Papa, Echo Hotel, no traffic.
Whiskey Zero, Papa Juliet Golf, no traffic.
Let's stop right there. Net acknowledges K5LMZ, KM4PEH, and W0PJG. We'll move down here a little bit. Call signs beginning with the suffix Q, Quebec through Z Zulu. Please check in now.
KD0RQU, Kilo Delta 0, Romeo Queen Uniform, Barrett, no traffic.
Whiskey Zero, Sierra Tango Uniform. With traffic.
Net acknowledges KD0RQU and W0STU for traffic. So what do we do? Traffic, we will wait. Will we do handle traffic immediately, Stu?
Usually after all the check-ins are completed.
Any other call signs that I missed, please check in now.
This is Whiskey Zero, Mike Juliet Hotel, W0MJH. Mike?
Whiskey Alpha 6, India, Foxtrot India, Dave, with traffic for the net.
Net acknowledges W0MJH and WA6IFI with traffic.
Does the traffic go immediately or at the end of the check-in?
Yeah, so we'll handle the traffic at the end of the check-ins.
At the end.
Anybody else want to check in? We got enough?
All right,
Kilo Delta 0, Yankee Bravo Delta, Bruce, for the question.
Net acknowledges KD0YBD for the question. All right, we will follow back and we will handle traffic. W0STU, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Barrett and the net. Thanks for acknowledging my traffic. Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement that was of general interest to everybody on the net. We're going to be having our annual Tech Day on October 13th, Saturday, out at the Black Forest Fire and Rescue Station in Black Forest. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and runs till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We've got 6 good presentations lined up, very informative. Up to and including Barrett, who's going to be doing a presentation on net operations to help get our recent technician class students up to speed on how a net works and get them on the air. Hopefully they can join us here on the W0TLM net. So again, that's October 13th, Saturday, out at Black Forest Fire and Rescue. I hope to see everybody there. That's all I got. W0STU, back to the net.
Thanks, Stu. This is W0ASB, your net control station. Next, we have WA6IFI with traffic.
Yes, thank you, Barrett. This is Dave, WA6IFI. Just a quick announcement to let everyone know that anyone who uses the 900 megahertz repeater up on Almagre, that repeater is now changed to a P25-based digital repeater. If you have any further questions, please contact me off the net, WA6IFI.
WA6IFI, thanks for the notification. Next we've got KD0YBI or YBD with traffic.
Yeah, net control, this is KD0 YBD, Bruce, and I have a question. I heard Bob was on net tonight, and if K0NR can inform me, I'm able to reach out because I'm up on a hill by Castle Rock after a grandkids ball game, but you know, I live up by Erie and Lafayette, and is there any link to the repeaters here so I can be on your net more frequently? KD0 YBD, back to net.
This is W0ASB, your net control station. Bob, K0NR, are you still on frequency?
Yeah, this is K0NR. Yeah, so Bruce, I don't know if you've kept up with what we're doing with the net. We've actually moved the net to a different repeater. The 145.190 repeater that's was recently established above Palmer Lake. And it's got really nice coverage up into South Denver. So that should open up the possibility for quite a few additional people checking into the net. When the net was on my repeater, it was pretty local. It was kind of northern El Paso County. So having the use of the other machine has helped a lot. K0NR back to net.
This is your net control station, W0ASB. Bob, thanks for that answer, enlightening us all. I am now going to open so we would usually do a question of the week. We don't have time for that, so I'm going to close the net here.
Barrett, just for the new guys' info on how that works. Net control station, whether it's Barrett or one of our other operators, will pose this question of the week, maybe introduce a topic, a little background sometime, and then pose the question very clearly, and usually go down the list or up the list, or sometimes, randomly through the list, and call upon each individual station who has checked in to provide some information, an answer to this question of the week, or to comment on it. And then sometimes we'll go through a second loop, depending upon how the clock's looking. And then once everybody's wrapped up, then come back to where Barrett is right now. So that's pretty straightforward. It's just wait till your call sign or your name is called, and then provide your response.
Go ahead.
Can I just ask a question outside of this little thing? So after Stu's 5-minute announcement just a minute ago, could you address the repeater drop procedure?
Letting it drop so you don't.
Yeah. Jim's helping you with that, but I'm still always not sure how long to wait before I say something until I hear the.
I don't know that, or Bob?
I don't understand the question.
Oh, do you want to address that one, Bob?
Well, all repeaters have a timeout timer on them, and so if you talk too long, the repeater will shut off on you. And typically it's set. Probably the shortest I've ever experienced was like 1 minute. That's really short. Typical is about 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes long, somewhere like that. And so the question is, well, how do I avoid timing out the repeater? Well, the first thing is don't talk too long. I'd say around here, you're usually pretty safe at like 3 minutes. But then the second issue is the repeater needs to reset between transmissions. So go ahead. Usually the repeater will reset once you hear the little courtesy beep. Some repeaters wait until the transmitter actually stops transmitting. But if you think about it, you kind of want to take your time anyway and allow for other people maybe to jump in if there's an emergency or whatever. So what I do is I just kind of respond slowly and make sure the repeater is reset. On my repeater, it's after the beep, the timer resets.
There's a beep, not a.
I don't hear a beep on the
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah, we always get the.
You ever hear the beep? It's a very cute beep. I'm very proud of that beep.
No, I'm talking about the NLX, the one we're using now.
XL, yeah, I think there's a beep on it.
I don't remember hearing a beep.
Maybe that's the other.
Maybe I'm
Could
oblivious.
be a high frequency hearing issue.
What? Say
That's
again?
why I never heard it either.
Sometimes if someone has an extended thing to say and they want to get it all out in one package, it's not unusual that in the middle of it, in between sentences, they will go silent for a few seconds to allow the repeater to reset so that they're not imposed by the timeout in the middle of a sentence.
Or say break, something like that.
Well, sometimes they'll say like, oh, I'm going to pause for reset, and then you'll hear the transmitter ceases for a moment, and then they come right back.
Yeah, but more often than not, they just put a pause in between sentences of a few seconds.
Yeah, it's usually
So if you
obvious
hear
when
that,
it's
that's
being
what the
fed.
person is doing. There is a method to their madness. They haven't spaced out for a few seconds.
Once you close out the net,
I'll close the net here.
do some more questions.
Thanks for participation in the discussion. We would like to thank the repeater owners for their use of their repeater. This is Barrett, W0ASB, net control station, closing the Tri-Lakes net, returning frequency to normal amateur radio use. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So on the web, it says that there's an echo link. You can echo link into the repeater, the one that the net is on. I've been unsuccessful in doing that. Is it supposed to be working?
Yeah, we will have some operators checking in the echo link. I've never done that myself. Can either of you guys speak to that?
I haven't checked it for about a month, but it was working at that point.
I just brought, that was the noise you heard a while ago. I just brought up the echo.
And it's,
let me get with you after.
Yeah, maybe you guys can connect up afterwards here and see if you can figure out what the problem is.
Yeah.
So if it's working, if the node's active on what's the call sign again?
OBA.
well, the repeater call sign's N0XLF,
XLF.
but the Echolink node is through N0 OBA, so you need to be
Yeah.
looking for OBA.
Is that the only link to the XLF repeater is through Echolink, or is there a co-channel thing with it, or another repeater in Denver or something?
Yeah, there's another repeater in Denver on the same frequency. The same two guys run both repeaters. It's got a different tone on the input, so.
It's co-channel though,
Yeah,
it's
so
not linked.
It's correct, it's co-channel. Very rarely the other repeater will come up and cause an interference problem, but it doesn't. They're both pretty lightly used, so it's not much of a problem.
Open?
They're both open, yeah.
Just a comment, so, for the newbies, the net control guy is pretty busy, and he's trying to track all the people calling in, so really emphasize, take your time when you're saying your call sign. It's about slowly giving your name and your call sign, so he has time both to understand it and to write it down and decipher it in the middle of the noise and doubles and that kind of thing, so I would emphasize that.
Good point, Dan.
I had two other thoughts came to mind. One is, that as we kind of got into, there are all kinds of different nets, right? And those nets have different expectations. And so one key principle is just follow the lead of the net control. If a net is well run, you'll understand, just listen to the net control, follow that person's instructions, and things will go well. And you sort of naturally adapt to whatever their local custom is. And then with regard to our net, which is Mondays, 7:30 p.m. local, except when we have a meeting. We have a net script and everything, but we're pretty informal. We're not going to yell at you if you make a mistake. I bet you every net control station, including myself, has probably made at least one mistake on every net. We're not that rigid. And so it's actually a pretty safe place to just kind of try out your radio and get started. So don't feel like there's this big burden of, oh my gosh, if I check in wrong or use the wrong magnetic, people are going to yell at me. See, I didn't even yell at Barry for using Queen for Quebec. See, I totally let that go.
You know why I do that? Because they don't understand Quebec.
So, it's a pretty easy place to get started. We usually have pretty good conversation with the question of the week thing, just kind of get people talking about something, something going on.
Another thing that new people may want to know, it's fairly important, although it's encouraged to join the net, to be ready with your radio a few minutes before, I guess, 7:30, right? If you're tied up or whatever and you can't join the net until 7:45 or 7:50, just listen, and the script allows for late entries to check in. So just wait until, like here, Barrett would have gone through the question of the day and maybe half the people answered, and he might say, are there any late check-ins? And so even at 10 to 8, or after the net's been going on for a while, you can still check in and participate.
That's a really good point. We skipped over that, but that's, a lot of times I miss the beginning, but I'll try and check
Right.
in before.
So
it's over.
the protocol is it's probably not best to interrupt the net. You could, and then Barrett would probably take your call right away, or whoever is doing net control. But the best thing to do is wait for the periodic question asking, are there any late check-ins? And then that's the time to chime in.
How long do nets usually last?
Yeah, so it'll depend on how many people are checking in for the night for the most part. Anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes or so, depending on traffic for that night.
Unless they're having just a raucous good time, then it might go an hour.
This is a little bit off subject, but with regard to linked repeaters, such as we have now, are they linked all the time?
Yes, pretty much 24/7.
Okay. So when we have our net, that information also is going off. that link.
Okay, now the repeater that we are holding the net on, the N0XLF repeater up on the hill in Palmer Lake, is not a linked repeater.
Okay.
Okay, so but it does have good reach. It does have pretty broad coverage up and down the Front Range area. But for instance, Dave would probably tell us about back here, there's a linked repeater on Cheyenne Mountain that's in the Colorado Connection, and it's linked out to west or up and down. Dave, are you still here? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, there's several linked repeaters accessible from Colorado Springs. The one I'm most closely associated with is the Cheyenne Mountain repeater route, and I covertly placed some flyers for that out on your table, so if you want to grab information on that, feel free to do so. But our link system, we also have partnered with the Pueblo Amateur Radio Club. So we have our repeaters linked with their repeaters. So we've got repeater outlets on Cheyenne Mountain, one down in Pueblo on the 1,000-foot tower just north of town. Another one out in Salida, which covers the San Luis and San Luis Valley very nicely, and one out on Badger Mountain, which covers everywhere South Park. And Badger Mountain is at Wilkerson Pass. So all of these repeaters are linked together, so if you go in on one, you go out on all of them. The advantage is you've got nice wide coverage, and also there's more chance of somebody listening to you than on one repeater. So I'd like to say, in this area, we've got lots of choices of repeaters. You can either go to a wide area, or you can stay local.
Did that get at the question?
Yeah, I didn't know if they were, as you said, linked 24/7. That was one thing I was asking. Coming back to the repeater that we use, I thought that there was a link to another repeater.
No, that's what Bob was addressing earlier. There's another repeater in the Denver area that's on the same frequency, operated by the same group.
Yeah.
But they don't usually interfere with one another, but they're not linked.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes, conditions being right, you will hear that repeater up in Denver kind of coming in and causing a little bit of interference on the N0XLF repeater.
It's a little bit unique. Usually in the ham world, we keep our repeaters all separated. You never ever hear an adjacent repeater unless there's some weird propagation. But what they've done is they've intentionally plopped two repeaters down that have overlapped coverage. So there will be places where you can hear both repeaters. And the way they deal with not having a lot of interference is they have two different CT/CSS tones on those repeaters. And so if you're up north in Denver, you want to use the tone that brings up that repeater. If you're down towards, let's say, Monument Hill, northern El Paso County, you want to use the tone that brings up the Palmer Lake repeater. And it actually works out pretty well because neither repeater is all that busy.
And the other topic that we discussed here about that repeater involving a link was a question about the Echo Link tie-in to that repeater. It does have an Echo Link node that's tied into the internet, and you can get on your computer or on your phone or tablet and link in with voice over IP to that repeater, and then your signal will come out as radio frequency out of that repeater.
Which repeater?
N0XLF, November 0, X-ray, Lima Fox. And that's where we're holding the net, so I'll bet you can tie into the net.
Yeah,
with that repeater.
you can join our net.
Or-
The two repeaters that bump into each other, do they transmit a tone so you can set a tone squelch on your radio? So you can
Yeah,
hear
that's what Bob was saying. They have two different
So
sequences.
it's different, it's different to get in and different to hear.
No, they're the same on the out.
Same on the
Same
out.
on the out.
The encode is, yeah, the encode is the same.
The repeater transmitter has the same tone
On the transmit.
on the transmit side. The repeater receivers have unique tones.
So you can't block one out with your receive tone squelch.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, Joe, first off, let's thank Barrett for hopefully that little exercise was useful to you and kind of getting you accustomed to what a net will be like. And I hope that all of you who recently graduated from our technician class will join us on the net on Monday night on N0XLF. And if you need, remember, get Chip to program up your radio, and it's in there. It's in the list, I promise you. For now, we'll continue the discussion